Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. This is episode number 19. Today's guest will be a fun conversation. We connected probably 3, 4, 5 months ago, maybe 4 months ago through a mutual friend that we have. Right away, I kind of knew he was an interesting character. There's a couple of connections. A good friend of ours, Jason Jensen, knows this fella, had some chirps to throw towards him very quickly. So anyways, another just Calgary connection. So I'll let him introduce himself, his name, and what he's up to right now, what he's running.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate being here. Yeah, and JJ, he's not a very good hockey player, so let's get that out of the way away.
He's like a fourth line or like sixth pairing or like third pairing, sixth defenseman on any team.
Absolutely.
At the best of times.
Any goal I've seen him score never touched the back of the net, right? Now that we've chirped him. My name's Jade Alberts. I'm the founder of Pure Guidance. It's a purpose before profit company that really helps small businesses, startups, entrepreneurs grow, scale, and or become angel investable. I've also angel invest, and I love just being part of the startup community and really making sure that money doesn't get in the way of people's knowledge and that they need. So it is something that I kind of fell into after we exited our company about almost 7 years ago now. So it's quite fun. It's quite enjoyable. Yeah, it's and I love the ecosystem.
Cool. I've been kind of, like I said, we just connected a short time ago, so I've always been following you and watching what you're doing, and you're like way into the startup world and entrepreneurs and small business. So it's, as a person that's fairly fresh still, it's been cool to watch what you've been up to, because it's, you just touch so many different verticals and different sizes and where they're at. So it's fun to watch from afar.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words. And again, you meet so many great people, right? Like yourself and any of the entrepreneurs out there. They're into it. They're willing to learn. They want to learn. They want to succeed. And it's something that they start on their own. So It's pretty cool.
Totally. So the gist of the show is, I say this every time, but I like to take guests as far back as they want to go. The idea is just to tell the story of, we all kind of can say what we're doing right now. It's a 10-minute conversation. It's that elevator pitch. But what I like to do is let people go back as far as they want to go. How you grew up, what where you grew up, what your interests were, where your inspiration was, to kind of put you on this path you're on now. We'll get into the business that you exited out of 7 years ago, because that's a really interesting one for me. So just take it back to when you kind of remember of whether it's, you're a sports guy. So go back as far as you want to go.
Go back. Well, the funny thing is I grew up in rural Saskatchewan, small town Melville. So I have those types of roots.
Was there an SJ team back then?
Yeah, the Millionaires.
Yeah, okay.
Right, yeah. And then we had a hockey tournament there, and I was probably in Pee Wee hockey, I guess, whatever it's called now, youth, 15, whatever it is.
Yep.
We went to Notre Dame, and
Utah
was here in Wilcox. And I walked into there, and I was like, oh my God, this place is awesome. I want to go here. And I was lucky enough that my parents said, yeah, sure, you can go there. So I went there in grade 9, and that really was the beginning of, I would say, the rest of my life almost. I was lazy in school, kind of, you're a jock, you didn't care. I was smart enough, but I just coasted to get whatever I needed to do. And then when you got there, not only was the emphasis on hockey, but it was also on education. And you had to apply yourself.
Yeah. Explain Wilcox.
Oh my God. It's a 400 people town dump. The school is Notre Dame is there, right? Wilcox is there because of the school. There's like 400 plus kids in the school, and it's literally the town doubles when school's in. But I shouldn't say that. It's just a nice little community, and why Per started it there. I've read the book, but I don't recall. Mm-hmm. But it was just great. It was a different atmosphere, right? If you were my teacher, it was like, Mr. Humphreys, or Mr. Alberts. Like that was like when you were in all their school growing up. When you got there, it was no, you call them by your first name. So it's Jeff. If Neil Smith was a teacher, you called them Schmitty or Oli or anything. So it was a very personal relationship that you had with their teachers, because they were your teachers, your coaches. They lived with you in the dorm, some of them, right? It was a really old boy, new boy system, and you really learned a lot of things about life at a very young age.
Did you go there because obviously their hockey program is amazing.
Yeah.
Did you go there because you were a shithead, like boarding school? And your
no.
Parents,
I probably was a shithead.
Was there two? Was there people that went there for sports, and was there people that went there because it was a boarding school?
Yeah.
There was both.
Yeah. Even some of a friend that I connected here, 20 years after Notre Dame, he was sent there, right? I won't drop his name here because he's a very respected person in the community here, but he was sent there and he didn't play any sports or anything like that. Yeah. And I mean, but it's boom. Like there's no screwing around there.
It's a tight leash.
Oh yeah. We scrubbed out Loris disposal bins if you got in trouble. You had to sweep Main Street with a broom. Like there was there was nothing to get in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like you
can walk everywhere.
Yeah,
Everything was super close. The rink was the hub, and then there's just a row of domes.
All you were doing, you're in the gym, you're playing hockey, you were doing homework, or shooting hoops or doing something, right? So I still have lifelong friends from that, and even when you left there was no, internet. You actually had to write emails or write letters. And when we were cleaning out our house here, I actually found letters from guys that got, scholarships into hockey. And I thought I was a good hockey player, but you get put in your place there pretty quickly because there's no politics. It's just like the best. That's why Notre Dame's here. It's the best of the best. And then you follow suit to where you play. So I was on an average AA team, but it was really hard to make the tie-in teams there, which was great. But it also helped me become a better leader, which ended up turning me into a hockey coach, which ended, scouting 13 years in the Dub. And the last guy I've actually coached is still in the NHL, Chara. So he's one more year apparently with the Islanders.
Yeah, I saw that. Just chasing something.
Yeah, so it really set up my life and sports. And because of that, I ended up, going to university and
where'd you go to
U of S?
U of S
for one semester, we'll call it, and didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Did you you started off by saying school was never really your jam? Did you just slide by at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I made the honor roll.
Oh,
so I figured it out. But there was literally nothing else to do. Yeah. So the cool thing about Notre Dame is that, you start school at 8 and at 2 o'clock you have something that's called shack. And then you'd have 4 grade 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s. And so for the last hour of school, you actually did your homework. So you had an hour at the end of the day to do your homework. So if you had any problems, you had your teacher or anybody that kind of just went through that the last 3 years that were older than you, or if you were in grade 12, you would help all the younger kids.
Yep.
And you were done your homework by 3 o'clock. So there was no going out. I mean, if you didn't have a certain average, people would have to take like tutorials and things like that. But you were done. And it was really beneficial that people would be coming up to you and saying, I was good at math and I got it. And people say, can you do this? Can you do that? And help me here, help me that. And I mean, you're just really learning how to be a mentor without even knowing it.
Yep.
And you're really learning how to coach and how to understand people and react to them and not just sit there and say, man, you're an idiot.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I get that. I struggled with that too. And I had somebody teach me how to properly do it. And it was, again, like I said, those things that I was learning in grade 9, 10, and so on really, really stuck with me. When did you
figure that out? When did you
right when
reflect?
I got there. Right.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got there in 85, I knew that this was different. I understood it. And even the first time when I went back and I bought into the system right away. Like I bought in, like I was all in. I saw like how hard some of these guys like the Brindamores, the really high end hockey players trained. And I did nothing like that, in Melville. It was like, I'm like, you want to be that good? You have to do that. And I don't know if I was even prepared to do that.
Was Brindamore there?
Yeah.
So here's a funny story. It's totally like out of left field. I went to Wilcox twice for summer hockey camps, so a week-long camp, and it was it was serious hockey back then. So one of the rooms I was in, whatever the dorm room, for whatever reason, I lifted up the mattress, and there it is, a rookie Rob Brindamore card in this plastic sleeve. I still have the damn thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, super random, but that's like I went later. I don't know what I was. Well, I don't even know when I was. Well, I might have been pretty close to that, actually. Anyways.
Well, probably was the same time frame, right?
Probably within like 3 or 4 years of going there. That's what I've discovered on this random mattress.
Well, that's pretty cool. He was, I mean, you could probably say he's probably the best player to ever come out of there, arguably, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was good buddies with a couple of my... my roommates and Rod was always, I could walk up to him today and he wouldn't remember me. I mean, I haven't seen him since grade 11, since he left to go to college, right?
So you could tell he was
a step above, right? He was always in the gym. There's a reason he was called Rod the Bot. I mean, they probably had a 1% body fat. The guy did nothing but train. And you looked at that and said, oh my God, like that's what it had to take to get there.
Yep. Didn't want to?
I don't know. Maybe right? I don't know. It's hard. Reflecting back on it, I wasn't as skilled as he was anyway.
Yep.
But I was just like, I wasn't that driven to becoming a hockey player, even though I loved it. I mean, I was a better baseball player and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's when we moved to Saskatoon. I took after university, I was like, I'm just wasting money.
So you took a year? What'd you take? Like general or?
Yeah, I was in commerce.
And it's just, you thought it was the thing to do?
I thought so. I thought I wanted to be business. I didn't really know. And then when I took that time off, I ended up through baseball. I played senior men's baseball there, and a guy that played on our team, who was like a Jim Abbott, he would actually, he lost in a farming accident, lost his right hand, and he was a lefty, so he was a pitcher, and he did it was pretty neat to see that live on a regular basis. So his wife got me a job at a company at that time called Video One, and they were like Entertainment One today, but we sold movies to video stores all over Saskatchewan. And I got hired as a shipper receiver. So, and as again, this is where I say, started with Notre Dame, your business acumen, you don't know where you get it, you don't understand it, but I always had no problem saying no to people. Like, tell me why this is it. Tell me, no, I'm not shipping this for free. It cost me money. And Mike, who's still a really good friend of mine today, who's the one that hired me, and the hiring story was, well, we sat there and talked hockey for about an hour. He phoned me the next day. I was out partying the night before. I actually had to phone him back to said, did I dream this, or did you offer me the job? We'll call it. You can read between the lines how I was feeling. And then he's like, oh no, you start Monday. I'm like, all right, here we go. And
so you're playing ball and that's it.
So I was playing baseball, and then I got hired. In 6 months, I turned a profit within that company, like within the shipping receiver. It's never done before. And then they promoted me into sales. And once they did that, I found my calling. And I was then the rest is history. I was like 7.5, almost 8 years there. Never missed a goal. Always raising. I really liked it.
What was it when you were like, you found something in the shipping? You could figure out the process, or you could figure out the streamline. But what clicked on the sales side? What was it?
It was just something I was good at. I was personable. I like to talk to people. I was always good at figuring things out. Listening to people was if people always say your superpower, which is whatever, I was like, I listen a lot. I want to take everything in. So, but I also say no a lot. And I was like, which when I learned really helped you when you became an entrepreneur and you had your own business and you had to turn away and say, no, I can't, I'm not going to make enough money. The margin's too low. I can't do that. As a sales rep, I'm like, I'll take any sale because I'm going to get paid on it. But as a entrepreneur, you're like, no, I got more things to worry about than just, paying a sales rep. Were
you always comfortable with people?
Yeah.
So from like, whatever, grade 9, 10, 11, 12, you were just comfortable? Like, if you're in the group, you're comfortable speaking, not like holding the conversation, but you're comfortable just being a part of the conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
So then you get into sales.
Sales, and then it was just away we go. And then I got, I don't want to say headhunted, but there was a job opening, and the company called DSL, Dairy Supplies Limited, that sells all the slush machines to 7-Eleven and Max, and ice cream machines to McDonald's, and milkshake stuff. And they wanted to get a presence in Saskatchewan. They didn't. They had lots of service business through McDonald's and some of their corporate, but they had no sales. So they basically said, you know all these convenience stores already. Why don't you come work for us? And I would just walk in there, right? And they would know me from Video One. So it was already, the relationship was already there. The trust was already there. And so I did that. And within the first year and a half, I grew it to millions of sales, and they transferred me to Calgary. And when you always say the sports world is something that I have everything today because of sports, and people are like, oh, you talk about sports. I was like, well, yeah, it was important, still is an important part of my life. And when I got here, which got into my second day here, Dwight, who was one of the partners at DSL, rest his soul, he introduced me to Cam Christensen, and they were starting the Drumheller Dragons Junior A team, and I was working in the WHL as one of the key guys with the
You already were?
What's that?
You're already working in the dub?
Yeah, I was working. That was a finish. I worked one more year here, year and change, and then I packed it in as a scout. So I already had doing it for 13 years.
Well, it's interesting you say sport was such a big part of your life, or everything.
Yeah.
So back it up. back it up to Saskatchewan where the sport thing started. Like when did you start, you're playing senior men's ball.
Yeah.
Where's
There's nothing to do in rural Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we didn't have a lot of extra sports. Like there was no lacrosse in rural Saskatchewan. There was no soccer. So we did the main, right? In winter you played hockey, and then if you did your high school sports and things like that. And then in the summer you golfed and played baseball, and that was it.
Yep.
And I mean, we were golfing from the age we were 5 years old, right? It was our family membership at the Melville Golf and Country Club was $300, and we'd probably play 70 plus holes a day.
And your folks were cool with?
They were on, yeah. I mean, my dad was, my mom worked at the Royal Bank, and my dad drove trains. He was an engineer for CN. So, I mean, we were on our own. Like, if in the summer it was like, okay, you're just driving to the golf course, then you would, you have to be off the course. I think it was like 3 o'clock because the adults were like, I don't want any kids on the
Men's
course.
nights, ladies' nights,
every
whatever.
night.
Yeah.
Even though we're better than them by the age of 7. And then we'd go shoot snooker for probably 4 to 6.
Yep.
Go home for supper, and then we would be at the swimming pool from 7 till 9. And then at 9 o'clock, we'd rip over to the BMX track. And
So it was
that's
all
it.
sports.
That's what we did until we actually started getting summer jobs.
So then when you got to university,
Yep.
sport is where? Sport, you're playing senior men's baseball.
I was playing senior men baseball, senior hockey. I didn't have the drive. And then when I got there, one of my cousins said, listen, why don't you come coach? I was like, I don't know. I've never really thought about that, right? So I said, sure. So he was coaching the midget AA Flyers at the time.
Okay.
And once again, I was only like 19 and these kids were 18,
Right
and
there.
under, right? Like just cuts from midget AAA. So I did that year and I was like, okay, well, this is pretty close in age. Like,
Yep.
I'm going to be running into these guys in the bar or probably drinking with them at parties. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
a little close. So I ended up doing it the next year. And they asked me, and then I asked a really good friend of mine, Jamie Novikowski, and we went down to Coach Bantam AAA. And then we coached in there, and then we coached Team Saskatchewans, and we won a couple big tournaments, and that's when PG reached out and said, hey, we need somebody there. You're young, take your earring out and you're hired. And that's where my
How old are you?
WHL, again, like I was 19-ish, 20-ish when I started doing that, right?
And then the dub scouting thing, like right there?
Right there. So I started doing that, and Russ and I, our head scout, he was out of Red Deer, and he realized that I had a good hockey eye and knew the game, and as did a lot of the scouts. They all know the game, obviously. And we just hit it off like as friends, and I became a key guy and flew all over Western Canada. And
Was that your region, Western Canada?
yeah, well, I looked after Sask, but if there was a major tournament in Medicine Hat or
Yep.
Winnipeg or Vancouver something, he would fly me out. And then, of course, the best part of it was the Bantam draft every year, which is like the NHL draft. You're literally sitting in a room, and it's your turn, you're up. And we're there a couple days before, and we got the draft boards up there, and we're talking about, okay, the Pats are going to take this guy, and Tri-City's taking this, and we're up third, and what are we looking for? And it's pretty cool.
Was it was that your job, or were you doing that on the side?
That was at my side. I was at Video One when I was doing that, and then DSL as well.
Because that being a scout is it's a lot of time.
And I was coaching.
So
I would see probably 600 to 700 hockey games a year.
crazy.
Like it
And you
was.
loved it?
I couldn't get enough of it.
No way.
Yeah, like it was. You sacrificed. My health went a little bit. Like I went from a really good athlete to like 270 pounds.
No way.
Like, and I've lost a lot since, obviously.
Just from like traveling around.
just eating shitty,
Yep.
eating bad.
You're in a rink.
In a rink burgers, rink fries, or you're done at 9 o'clock at night. Now you haven't ate since
Going to BP's and crushing.
Yeah, exactly, crushing pasta at 10 at night and a few beers. Right, so you and then no working out, and I wasn't really. I quit. I wasn't playing senior hockey no more. I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And you just lose your body, right?
Yep.
So I had to work hard to get that back and do that. But yeah, I mean, it was again, and that's how I met the founders of Nathan's. When the Christensen family.
Yeah.
They start, and again, my honesty comes out as in right away, as our short discussions, you find that out.
Yep.
And when I met Cam, and I didn't know Cam from a hole in the ground, right? And Dwight says this guy's starting a team, and they own Canelta and all this stuff, and I was like, oh, cool. So I sit down and I meet the GM and Cam, and Cam goes, yeah, Jade, this is nice to meet you, blah blah blah. And I start talking to the GM. I said, so what are you doing for scouting? What are you guys looking for? He goes, I got 50 scouts in Alberta, and I was like, 50. So we like got 11 across Western Canada for the, PG. And he's like, yeah, we just need names. And I was like, I can send you 250 names right now. I can just pull them off my spreadsheet. Players, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just players, higher end players. But I said, when you're doing the AJ, same as the SJ, you actually have to sell yourself, right? It's not like a BAM draft. Things have changed since then, but you have to sell your organization. Why am I going to send my 16, 17-year-old kid for you for 3 years? Like, what's a Christensen family like? Tell them like their family. Like, my sons are doing this. My sons are going to take it over. Families want to hear that. They want to believe that their kids are going to be looked after when they're going to be sent away to be billeted. The Dub's already a well-oiled machine. They're looked after, but it's wide open season if I want to recruit Jeff Humphreys, a hockey player out of the the AAA Flames area.
Yep.
So, anyways, I was like, I have no interest in this, right? I'll send you names. I'm not going to help.
Were you done with PG at this point?
I was still just I finished up that year and then did one more year because we had a good Calgary guy, but Russ wanted me to stay on.
Who was, out of all your years scouting for PG, who was like the guy? Who was the hot shot when you were kind of?
Honestly, the best player I ever seen play. I mean, you don't get a chance to get some of these kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but by far, the guy that dominated the game the most was Jade Bulmeister. Just the way he skated and played. He got drafted number 1 by Medicine Hat. Yeah, and obviously had a very successful NHL career.
But he was the standout that you go to?
He's just a guy that stepped on the ice and just beautiful hockey player. Knew the game, smart, skate better than anybody.
Yep.
It was just amazing to watch. There's lots of good hockey players, but in my mind, he's the one that just stands out the most.
That's random. Because he's such a quiet. He's
Very
never.
quiet.
He never was a big personality.
No.
But he's amazing.
Well, yeah, it's very
Olympics.
successful Olympics gold. I mean,
Yeah,
very good
all of
player,
it.
right? But
Yeah.
you could tell at that level that this kid is going to be a star. Like just a hell of a hockey.
So you were watching a really interesting era because there was still a bunch of really tough guys playing.
Oh yeah.
And there was some high end skill. There was that mix of really tough guys, high end skill, all together, which was. That was fun to watch.
It was fun. I mean, that was, I mean, again, I enjoyed coaching hockey, but scouting was something like after I retired from coaching, we won, last year we won cities and then I retired and I got called back. I got the bug again to go coach midget AAA again. And I was like, I'll go do it. But then in the middle of the season, I got transferred, so I had to resign coaching the Saskatoon Blazers.
Okay.
AAA. And I was just like, but scouting was something I loved, right? It was just, you're in there, I mean, everybody has what they look for, right? Like, I mean, I loved Hockey IQ. People talk about it, but even back then, I would watch what kids did without the puck. Where would they go? Can they read the game? Can they see the game? Do they know where to go? Do they just stand there and watch and like, oh, I got my guy right here. I'm just going to stand by him. Or are they actually watching how the play is going to develop? And that's, I think, why I was always successful at listing kids and giving my feedback at the draft table.
So cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
super cool.
You never know.
No. So these guys approach you. Drumheller talks to you now, and the list is like, here it is, but I want something different.
Yeah, I was like, I have no interest in that, and literally, no one had. I still have my SAS number, and literally, probably at 3:00 that afternoon, I get a call from Cam, and he's like, "Yeah, do you mean what you say?" I said, "I always mean what I say." He's like, interesting. He goes, you're our new sales rep. He goes, you're going to look after all of our properties, all of our things. He goes, I like you. And that's where our relationship started.
Did you know
I didn't know him.
But do you know what he needed you to sell?
Well, just to his properties, right? Like, so I was his DSL rep. And from there, it was like, he made me feel like I was part of the family. Canelta would go on trips and things like that. And they're like, Jade, you're coming with us. Like we went, mountain sledding in the Revelstoke, or we would go places, and I get invited to their Christmas parties and things like that. And then of course when Cam wanted to buy the rights to Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs, he's like, he goes, I want you. So that's kind of how it's amazing. I tell people, like, you never know who you're talking to, and if you're always honest and just tell it like it is, people remember that. And there's different times where even before Cam he wanted to send some stuff back, and I was like, I can't do that, Cam. He goes, I'll give you my place in Mexico. I was like, great, I'll take it, but I still can't take your stuff back if you want to, he goes, can I go over your head? I'm like, absolutely. If Rob and the president and Mike Wilson say you can send it back, I'll do all the paperwork and have at her. But it was a start. It was start of something that I didn't even know at that time, right? Like, again, that's kind of the way I like to say, like, I didn't understand that what Notre Dame was going to mean to me. I didn't understand what a meeting at the Drumheller Dragons Junior A Hockey Club was going to mean to the future of my life.
Did you know, though, like you said, when you were at Notre Dame, you knew something was different? Yeah. Did you know meeting him that it was going to be, that he was, as our friend Jay says, like a door opener?
After I got to know him, I figured there could be something, right? I was like, this is a very entrepreneurial family. I consider myself, I know this is a weird term, but an entrepreneurial salesperson. Because when I was working with DSL, they're like, here's a rope, right? Have at her. Here's what we sell it for. Here's what we buy it for. Here's what you can sell it for, and you just judge your own commission in between there to make the deal. So I had to start understanding margins and everything like that when I became an owner of a company. It was like, oh, I get this shit already. It's not that sales guy mentality, right? So it was something that I was learning along the way that I didn't really know that I was learning. Versus
going to school and reading it and learning out of a book.
Absolutely.
Out of a book.
Absolutely.
There's no right or wrong, but it seems like I'm wired the same way. I can't figure it out in a book. Whether I'm dyslexic or something, I just can't figure it out. But real life lessons, it seems like it's an easier connection for me.
I have a hard time having people teach entrepreneurs that have never lived that life. It's a different stress. It's a different worry. How are you going to pay your bills? How am I sleeping at night? Do I have to fire this person? Yep. If I have to let this person go because I got no revenue, how's it going to affect their lives? I mean, that's a whole different worry that if you read about it in a book or some accelerator hires you and says, oh, this person, graduated with a degree, and I'm not knocking degrees. Yep. I'm just saying it's a hell of a lot different being in the real world than it is reading it in a book. And I can't accept that people are learning from entrepreneurs that haven't been there.
Yep. You've been doing it a lot longer than me, so I'm just like, I got nothing to say about it because I have but I do think that people, there's two ways to learn. It's books, and it's just kind of meeting people and getting involved and getting experiences. And there's no right or wrong, but it's just some people, there's that pressure, just you got to go to school. You got to go to school, and that pressure can be daunting on someone that just doesn't jive with how they operate.
I am. My mom was really angry when I said, I'm not going to university anymore. Like that's what you did, right? In the late 80s, right? That was, you got to go to school, right? And
Wait,
I don't know, it worked out, I guess.
I know, but as whether you have entrepreneurial tendencies or you're a full-blown entrepreneur or you're creative and there's a different path for you. But in the late 80s, it's the same time as me, late 90s, mid 90s, to figuring out what I need to do was there was only go to school. So when you're going to go the opposite way, you're it's a bit of a...
Well, you're bucking the system, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, people still, and a lot of my friends all my friends have degrees and went to degrees and some of them are doctors and dentists and things like that. And some of them, even my wife her degree has absolutely nothing to do with what she's doing. So as probably 80% of the university grads out there, I'm guessing. Yep. I don't have the data, but I mean, unless you're a teacher or something like that.
I can't wait to get into this, everything you're up to right now, but go into Nathan's. Go into when you stopped working for that group and you started doing your own thing. Where's that transition? What does it look like?
It was scary because we just when Cam kind of came up and said that, we just had our first daughter was just born. Yep. And I mean, to be honest, I was making good money and I wasn't working that hard. And it was a company I loved. Our leadership was, they had a change in leadership and the new president was a little bit of a putz, but it didn't take long for him to get canned. Yep. But I mean, the old president, Rob Ryder, who is my mentor to this day, I have the utmost respect for him, and even Mike Wilson and all that entire group that was there. It was hard to leave that. It was family, right? I mean, I've been involved in mostly family-run businesses, and they treat you differently.
Is that a coincidence? Or
I don't know. Yeah, people always ask that, and I was like, maybe I'm drawn to it. Maybe they look and say, oh, I mean, Jade can kind of just fit in with us, right? He's like one of us, type thing. Just locker a small, tall, cool guy, I guess. I don't know.
Sass cool.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, Saskatchewan's cool, different than anything else cool. But yeah, it was, it just, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to explain, right? It's that gut feeling. And I still tell people about that gut feeling, right? I even tell entrepreneurs about that gut feeling. I always remember Cam's story. And, you can look at numbers, you can look at data, you can look at all this information. And when Cam was going to buy his first, he owned the Hannah Motel, and he had to almost leverage everything he had to buy the Drumheller Hotel. And if he didn't do that, he would have turned his, into the Canalta brand and everything that he has now. But he's like, I just have a gut feeling that I have to do it, right? And I tell people, don't ignore your gut feeling, because a lot of time that's right. And Kath and I were going back and forth, and I was like, this is it. This could be our opportunity that could, not change our lives. We're all right. Yep. But I was like, maybe it's something different, something, who knows? Yep. And I trust that. I mean, Cam and their sons Blair and Brooke, again, cut from the same cloth, very straightforward, very honest conversations. All of our decisions were made in 140 characters or less on text and things like that. Like, it was, when they respected what I brought, and I respected them, and it was like, made that decision, and away we went.
So what happened? What'd you guys decide on?
Yeah, we decided obviously to jump in and handed in my resignation, and away we went, and we started selling hot dogs.
Was it existing?
Well, it's a big brand in the States, but in Canada, no.
Did they have it? Like, how did they have their hands on it?
Cam saw it like when I want to say, because it's now 14 years ago, like almost 15. So even probably 10 years before that, Cam was at a trade show somewhere. And probably, I think it was Chicago, and he saw the brand, and he's like, oh my God, this is the best hot dog I've ever had. Like, this is off the charts good. Yep. And he's like, I think I could bring this. So he actually inquired about buying the rights to Canada back then. So we're probably going 25 years ago or something like that. Yep. And he's like, he looked at it, he was going to do it, and he's like, who's going to buy hot dogs?
It wasn't up here yet.
Wasn't here, that type of thing. And then he kind of came across it at that time again.
And he's the kind of gut kind of guy, just a serial entrepreneur.
Right? Like, and
random. He's doing like,
he's got like probably 50 to 70 hotels, probably 80 to 100 A&W's, Boston pizzas, kegs, all kinds of things, right?
But I want to sell hot dogs in
He's
Canada.
like, I think this could be something that's cool, right? I love it. And I think that what changed is that both his sons were now kind of getting involved in the business, so that he would have more help, right? It wouldn't just be him and things along those lines. Because Cam's not going to go out there and sell. He needs to have a team around him, right? Kind of that type of a thing. So I think that was maybe the difference, right? Maybe there was me, and then Blair, and it was the one who was Brooke was still on the hotel side. But I think maybe that was maybe a little bit of the game changer. And before you know it, we're out there slinging hot dogs across Canada.
He buys the rights.
Buys the rights, the food service, retail, and franchise rights. And we start with food service, and within 40 days we kind of change our whole plan, and like, holy Jesus, this isn't working. We have to go down the food broker, the Cisco GFSs of the world, kind of rule the roost. Yep. And we just hire the brokers, IPS here in Western Canada, McCormick Bory in Ontario, and Target eventually in the Maritimes. And before you know it, we're coast to coast. And I always say, you have to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And I don't care if it's sports, business. Sometimes you just need a little break. And we were doing good. We were kind of growing just like this, nice. And
you were doing your thing.
We were doing our thing. We're out there.
You're focused on sales.
We really focused on, and I was kind of like, I did the sales, I did the inventory management, I did work with CFIA. I had to do all the documents in English and French. It was doing everything, right? It was kind of Blair was still, working over there and that. And so it was kind of my goal. And I was working with the brokers. So I was like 10 hats on, right? Did all the marketing, everything. Yep. And it was fun. I enjoyed it, right? So you're hands-on. I'm still doing sales, but I'm doing the marketing. Twitter and Facebook is new, and we're having a lot of fun with that. And you can be a little risky with a hot dog when it comes to some branding and marketing. You can be a little more lenient and have a little more fun with it. But we were going good, and then we had two really big hits. And the first one was MLSE reached out to us, all of Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, Leafs, Raptors, Real Sports, BMO Field. Yep. And we tried to get in. I mean, I'm going to blast the Flames and the Oilers a little bit here because they're just absolute awful to deal with. They, as a company, what you learn is I can't lose money as a little guy. And they wanted us to lose like $18,000 to $21,000 a year and call it marketing. I was
Just like their brand awareness.
oh yeah, And then they didn't like the fact that I kind of shit on their numbers. Oh yeah, okay. Well, how many of those are season tickets? And I broke it down in my head, and it was like they didn't really like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, but when we went to MLSE called, we're like, oh my God, if the Flames and Oilers want this, what the heck do these guys want? The deal was done in half an hour.
Cool.
Like.
Just like-minded. They
wanted the hot dog. They wanted the brand. They wanted to do it. We made we created dog houses in there. At that time, it was Berkey's Dog House, so he was the GM. So Brian Burke branded dog houses with Nathan's in there, and then of course the Flames go and copy, which is fine. But we're the ones that creating a lot of this and did a lot of that. And I even had to sign an NDA when 3 days before Brian Burke got fired. Because they had to take his name off everything. Way. Yeah, so I was like, he goes, you're gonna see what's.
Did you get the request to change the name?
And I'm like, I'm not paying for this artwork because you guys are firing your GM. He goes, oh, don't worry about that. We just have to get this done, approve this, and sign the NDA because obviously you know what's coming.
How long did it take to get that group to get a hold of you guys from when the Canadian rights, when he bought the Canadian rights, the franchise rights? When the minute Nathan's Hot Dogs hit Canada to when they called you, how many years was that?
To MLSE? Yeah. Less than a year.
So
they saw that, so we hired McCormick Bory and we were out there and kind of get out there and the chef was like, the thing about MLSE is they're all about quality because they charge a little bit more for all their food.
Yep.
But they're about quality. They're like, we'll charge $7 for a hot dog, but you're getting a really good hot dog. And so that's just kind of the way they roll.
So what was the hook? You hired who?
Well, we just hired brokers. So, and we didn't have the money, again, to go to Cisco's and say, we want to be a partner with you.
Yep.
And, spend marketing dollars with you.
Yep.
So being a little, again, entrepreneurial, we're like, we got to backdoor these guys. We got to go hire the brokers, sell to the restaurants, have them list it, and then it'll be closed listed, but eventually maybe we'll get it open to everybody. Let's try it that way because we couldn't play the game. We didn't have the money.
Yep.
So we did that and it worked. And once MLSE got it, all we asked for was like, we made it rain hot dogs and the Jumbotron and little things like that.
Yeah.
That they had some of that cool stuff in New York because they have big sponsors and all over the States. But as soon as they got there, people were like, we want the MLSE, we want the Air Canada Center hot dog. I know it's a Scotiabank Center now, but at that time we want the ACC hot dog. And people were phoning around to Cisco and GFS we want the ACC hot dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Did somebody at Maple Leaf at their organization just find you guys? Like they picked up on the dog?
Our executive chef.
That's it.
Yeah.
He was somewhere.
He was there. He goes, I can't believe Nathan's is here. I want their hot dog.
Oh, because he knew about it.
He knows. Well, it's a very known.
It's a big name, but
it's a big name, especially in Toronto. We'll call it Ontario, closer to New York, right? They got that brand awareness a heck of a lot more than out west.
So that was the.
So he was like, oh my God, Nathan's is here. Where do we find it? And then when, the executive chef at MLSE phones their Cisco reps, how high should I jump, right? And like I said, I went in there with our documents. And when I say honesty is the best policy, I basically put in front of them and said, here's our cost. Like we can't lose money, man. Like we can't, you guys have more volume than, both the NHL teams combined here and plus some.
Yep.
We can't lose money. We're just a little guy. He's like, don't worry about that. We'll get her done. And we literally got it done.
Cool.
And signed a deal and it wasn't even in question. It was, and then because of them, we had one hot dog in there. They wanted a foot long. So we brought the first foot long hot dog to Canada, which blew up everywhere, especially in pubs and all over.
Did you, did they have one in the States?
Nope.
So you guys created your own.
We created our own. And then we also brought in the slider, which they just launched in the States. And then the slider ended up getting on the keg, Boston Pizza. MLSE wanted it for their sweets.
Yep.
And now we're taking those. So obviously 2 new SKUs that we needed volume with, and they supplied that volume. But before you know it, the footlong is everywhere. And again, people are buying the Nathan's footlong, and they're like, well, why don't we put a regular hot dog on? Well, why don't we put this footlong and the sliders on? And our volume just started, just went like that.
So that was the first big hit?
That was the first big hit. And then, you'll probably recall this, but Maple Leaf had a big listeria outbreak.
Yep.
And no one wanted to buy anything Maple Leaf.
What year was that?
That would have been about 2 years in. So probably about 13-ish years ago.
Yep.
And then before you know it, everybody was like, where's your hot dog made? Well, it's at Smithfield Foods, and it's made there now. It was a little company before, but it's not made by Maple Leaf was the answer.
Mm-hmm. If you had that card, you're playing.
Not made by, can you prove that? Absolutely. I had New York send me all the docs and things like that. And I was like, here you go. And before you know it, again, everybody's just didn't want anything to do with Maple Leaf. And because they did a lot of the third party, brand making for the hot dogs. And before you know it, again, now we were really going. But we also, again, that honesty is your best policy was, I would sit in there, and if you had, Jeff Humphreys, smoked meat shot somewhere, and they're like, I want your hot dog. And we're like, okay. And they're like, oh, I want a sandwich board sign. I was like, okay, well, that sandwich board sign is going to cost us $600 to make. Mm-hmm. It's going to take us a year and change to make $600 off of you. Mm-hmm. So if you sign, here's the numbers. If you sign a contract saying, for 3 years, we'll commit to you. And they're like, well, absolutely. I'll sign anything. So we did that with a lot of the little guys, which we did, and we custom made all types and types of. We did that with convenience stores and all over, and even New York at one point was phoning us and saying, "My God, what are you guys doing with your marketing? Like, it's just off the charts. Like what you guys are doing and how you're doing it, and who's doing it?" And I was like, "Well, me."
And did you make the decision to go after the smaller shop? Well,
that's pretty much the only place you have, right?
But then it pops when you get the big guys. But you were willing to get into the trenches with all these. It's volume. It's like hundreds of mom and pops versus focusing on these giant players. Yeah, and then
once we got MLSC, we got the Manitoba Moose, and we had the Moose Dog, which was awesome, and they loved the foot long, right?
Yep.
We had the Vancouver Canucks. And then, of course, the Moose moved into the Jets, and then we had both of them, and then we lost that contract, which is fine. They went with a local supplier, which I appreciate, right? Keep it local. Mm-hmm. So a little company, I think out of Winkler or something. I can't remember the name of them, but so we lost them. But again, once you kind of get that brand recognition, and then we opened up 3 restaurants, and then we got into Safeways and Sobeys and Loblaws, and things started to kind of the other aspects of our business started to kick in.
Crazy. And this was all, are you just moving on your gut? Are you making decisions on your gut, or is it a mix of gut and then data now? Is it these mentors that are kind of around you? Like, how are you making all these decisions to grow this thing from, pretty quick?
It did go organically, right? I mean, there wasn't we'll call it a high-end hot dog in Canada at that time, right? And I mean, I'm a hot dog lover, right? I'll eat 7-Eleven, right? I love Harvest, and I have nothing wrong with the Schneider's Jumbo Juicy. I love hot dogs. Yeah. And but we just positioned ourselves as a premium dog, and we sold it and advertised it that way, and no additives, no fillers, no 100% all beef. Yep. Like we just really hammered on not lips and ass that people assume what hot dogs were, right? And it really made a difference. It resonated. We put it on all our advertising. We worked with chefs across Canada. I know that sounds bizarre, but we had a create your own hot dog contest that got thousands of entries. MLSE ended up putting a bunch of them on their menu. New York ended up using some of these to put in their restaurants as hot dogs of the week. We used them in our restaurants. We gave away tons of stuff, and then we created a catalog of hot dogs that we gave away to chefs. And we learned that chances are that if you're going to put a hot dog, you only need to add 2 SKUs. The hot dog and the bun. Everything else that you have to make is in there because you use it on hamburgers, you use it on whatever it is. And before you know it, all these little guys are like, I can add a foot long and really just add 2 SKUs. So I need this much room in my freezer for the hot dog and a couple loaves of bread. So we started getting people to think outside the box about hot dogs.
Were you just, like you said, it was organic, but on a yearly basis or monthly basis, were you just seeing gains?
Oh, yeah.
And not really, and you just kept on doing your thing?
Yep.
Like same approach, just come up with some interesting creative ideas, more mom and pops, refine the message, and just over and over?
Yep.
And a shit ton of work?
Oh, I was busy. That's
like scouting days, like you're watching like 700 game busy.
It was a different busy. because you're working through basically 4 time zones in Canada, right? So you get up in the morning and you have a ton of stuff from maybe the Maritimes and out east, and then and actually it kind of structured my day, because by the time I got up there, maybe 9 o'clock, got to here 9:30, things have settled down in the east a little bit, and then I had a little lull before the west woke up type thing, and then it went to 6 or 7 kind of in the BC time frame. So that's where I got my, going to the gym between 9 and 10 and 11-ish, that time frame, before kind of the chefs kind of got at her and had questions, or the reps had questions here. So it also got my routine going myself. But yeah, it was a lot of work when, it was we're a small organization that were doing everything, right? So if I had, Blair, and Blair was also on the Canalta side. So if I had to track down Blair, well, who knows where he was, and if we had to make a decision or things like that, like it was a lot of there was like I said, everything was done via text and quick calls and quick decisions, and we were able to leverage a lot of the Canalta back end, right? Like with their CFOs and accountants and things like that we didn't have a lot of overhead, things like that, to keep our costs down. But yeah, I mean. It could have worked with anybody else. I don't know.
Super cool. What did the exit look like from there?
Oh, it was just people always say, "Oh, yeah, you had a big exit." It wasn't. We just basically kind of, sold the rights to
some other guy.
Yeah, it wasn't anything big. It
was the time.
Timing. We kind of ran it, and we were at that point where, especially on the restaurant side, we were just about to expand into Ontario and Montreal. So we're either all in or we're out. Yep. Like, if you're going to now take this brand, especially on the restaurant side, and do that. We had a partner in Montreal. We were already, we hired a guy in Ontario that we were going to do. So it was like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're based out of here. Yep. We really need help out there. Like, we have, that's, I know it's close, but it's still not the same. We don't really know Ontario and Quebec and things like that, but we've done a really good job with the brand recognition. Yep. Being in there, making sure. So the most expensive part, the franchise side, was what we were going to come up last. So we basically just kind of said, well, you know what? There's this company that wants it, and let's kind of move from there. They didn't want the franchise rights, but we were like, well, we don't want to keep the franchise if we don't have control of the entire brand. Yep. So we subleased a couple of our restaurants. The one in Airdrie got a dentist. The one downtown we were able to close because it was month to month. And the Cross Iron Mills one, we knew that they were renovating the mall, moving the food court. Yep. So we knew that they would have to buy us out or move us. It was our choice.
And so when that day showed up, did you have a next plan?
No.
So you were like, well, okay, this is happening. And then what do you do?
Nothing. My plan was to improve my squash game. So I think I was a level 5 or 7 level, and I wanted to become a level 1, and I accomplished that goal. But yeah, in the meantime, the money that we got there, that from the Canalta and a few little side gigs I did short term, that's kind of the money I turned into becoming an angel investor. So I didn't really know the startup ecosystem here. When the first company that I worked with, I really saw some gaping holes and things I didn't like.
Just very obvious, based on what you...
I understood that money is hard to come by, and you have to watch. It's a penny business, especially the food industry. It's a penny business. If we could save we were saving cents. And that would be huge at the end of the day when it came to shipping and freezer storage and stuff like that. Like, I was cutting deals everywhere, and I was like, okay, Sysco, can you pick it up? And it might cost us $1 to ship a box, but Sysco will pick it up for 50 cents. I was like, holy shit, that's 50 cents in our pocket. You times that by hundreds of thousands of boxes. It's a big number. Yep. And so when I saw people spending money on branding and marketing and getting ripped off and all this stuff, I was like, oh my God, people need help here. And it really, really bothered me, because I didn't play in the ecosystem. It was like, all right, we got this rights, let's go. Yep. Like, we got to make it. Yep. And so that's kind of where that started. I was like, okay, well, let's...
So angel investing, so you had a chunk of, you had a little bit of money, pool of cash. Yeah. And you're like, I want to go...
invest in some companies.
And help them.
They
have a good idea. You're willing to give them some cash.
Yep.
Give them some ideas, steer them down the path so they can hopefully get somewhere quicker.
Yeah, and that's really where kind of the peer guidance took off, right? I was like, oh my goodness, there was a lot of people out there saying, I'm a consultant and most of them weren't even businesses. Like they've never been an entrepreneur. They've never been anything. They just like, I'm a consultant that understands business, which is different than actually running a business. And they would be charging, good chunks of money on a retainer. And I was like, that's just not right.
They weren't delivering anything.
I didn't think they were delivering anything. Now, whether they were delivering something, but I mean, even to this day, I'm telling people if they're not growing there's only one analytic that matters, and if they're not growing your bottom line, they shouldn't be there. And that's, I don't care who it is. I don't care if you're a consultant or if you're an accelerator or if you're Harvest Builders here who's doing great things or whoever. Like if you're not helping them grow their bottom line. Like you can go find you shouldn't be charging anybody to put a pitch deck together to go find money. You shouldn't be charged because they need money. They can't afford to pay you. You can find somebody that can help you put your pitch deck together. Just go out there and network with somebody and someone will help you for free. Like, or go do the homework yourself and going, oh my God, like this company, whatever, and what a beautiful pitch they have. I'm going to just, kind of base it on what they did.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's kind of some of the problems I saw in the ecosystem. And then I kind of started diving in and before you know it, become, I guess, I don't want to say no one, but more trusted that, hey, here's somebody who's kind of done it. Here's someone who's willing to do it. And here's somebody who will sit down with me and not charge me.
Which is different, right? That goes back to your kind of honesty and that trust piece. Cause I think that is a different sales pitch. You're not even selling. You're just, I'm here to help. I'm going to charge you something eventually, maybe. But my first move is just help you get you on a path.
Just to listen.
And
what's wrong?
That's what people how they got to know you. This is the guy that can help.
And even, platform and other people will say, hey, go talk to Jade. He'll, if I can't help you, I know somebody else that can. And it all starts with finances, right? We go through the books and the couple other companies that we helped exit. Again, it starts at P&L. Like why have you done this? Why are you doing this? Let's sit down and talk about this. Maybe there's savings. Most of the companies we've dealt with, there's actually savings that we've found for them. So they're not even spending any extra money to help, to hire us. And I truly believe that you should be paying for it. But I also believe that if you're a true consultant and if you want to be a partner with no skin in the game with these people, you have to be able to waive your fees. Like we waived all the fees for all of our clients during COVID. And then as some of them have come back here, and we only usually work with 3-5 companies, and that's kind of enough to get get the time that you need with them. But there's examples where they needed some graphic work, they needed to pay for flyers, they needed to get some stuff done, they needed to do that. And us as peer guidance, we're like, don't worry about paying us this month. The money that you're paying us, go get that done because that's more important.
Which is rare.
Exactly, right?
That those conversations aren't had.
No. And again, that's what I truly believe that, right? Like these companies saving that X amount of dollars, whether it's $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 will be more important that month than anything that I can give them.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but they need someone there to help them to get along, to make tough decisions, to bounce things off of. Open doors for them. Like we're not just sitting there doing that. We're literally opening doors for them and acting as a sales team. Our Rolodex is almost as important as what we're doing for them and saying, here's leads. This person will introduce you and away you go. And we're really helping them. Not all the time does it happen like boom. It takes time, but.
And that's how you're known. That's taken you how long? How long has it been? Because, I'm, like I said, at the start of this conversation, our relationship is new. Like I'm just seeing things from the outside, but the amount of people you talk to and it's in this world, this startup entrepreneurs, like it seems massive. Like I know people in the city, like a world of people in the city, but was it just organic again? You just like do somebody a solid over here. They see some wins. You save them some money here. They tell people and it just goes. And how long has it been?
Well, it's been almost just over 6 years.
And did it catch fire or was it a slow burn?
Slow burn. Like it was. Again, it goes back to that guy I'm out there, right? I'm going networking. I'm at this event. I'm at that work. And, now we start our own networking events, right? The Founders Coffee and things along those lines. When I started telling it like it is, which has been running for 4 years, was a big, big, big opener.
And you just, sorry to go sideways, but you just hit a giant metric on that one, right? 2 million.
2 million 2 million views
in 4 years.
In 4 years.
Which is, it's consistency. It's work to get to that kind of number.
It is, but
what's the idea behind the show before we?
Well, and that's another thing that I saw that wasn't out there. Like when you get to Benevity or Jobber or Schmed and those companies, you get all the love you need, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't become good companies when they got $50 billion or become a $1 billion company and do a 50 million Series A.
Yep.
They've been great for a long time. So I literally wanted to give these smaller businesses, these startups, a platform to shout from.
But they're like small.
Small. I mean, some of them have 2 employees. Some of them are single employees. Some of them are trying to find their way.
Yeah.
We also bring in other ecosystem people that say this guy can help you, or this is what the universities do. This is what MRU does. This is what whoever does something that can help entrepreneurs. It might even be marketing firms I brought in, even though sometimes I don't believe in them. I'm like, well, this is somebody that's actually very friendly to a marketing world that will be able to help you, and they won't gouge you, those types of things. So I thought it would be like a 6-month run and nobody would listen. And before you know it, it's, it'll be 4 years in January. And it's, I always tell everybody the metrics sometimes are hard to judge.
They don't matter.
Whether it be, I mean, I know how many people will view, especially I have a very strong LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I can't, I wish LinkedIn would share with YouTube so I can see the watch times. But, it's a very loose number, but I'm sure it's pretty close because a lot of the people that I have on have very strong networks as well. And it's something that I'm extremely proud of. But again, it came to a point where people are like, oh my God, Jade's doing this just to put us out there, just to, a weekly show to help entrepreneurs. That's it.
So obviously this is all interesting to me, right? You're building your brand. You've been doing it for 6 years, let's say. Yeah. The show fires up 2 years in. So, back to the organic kind of growth. Did something change when you launched the show? Yeah. Was there something before that, or was that the catalyst to kind of just get you in front of more people?
That was a catalyst that really was the launching pad, right? Because I did take a little time off, right? So when I say 6 years, I'm going back like, probably took I took a good 6-8 months off, kind of, and did a little bird dogging with a couple other companies. But once Telling It Like It Is came up, it was just something that was needed. And I mean, I chose a live show because no one was doing video at that time.
It was a new tech.
New thing.
Video was new. Live was really new.
Live was really new. So I was really one of the only ones doing it. And not only did they get to come on and talk, it's a short talk, 20 to 30 minutes. Yep. But it also gave them 20 to 30 minutes of content to go and share.
Well, totally.
And it was so, and some of them even to this day, some of them I've never been on a video. I don't, and a lot of them would but the early days is I don't know how to chop this. I don't know how to cut it. You know what? Here, I'll cut all your answers for you and I'll email them in MP4 files and then you can just post them yourself. Right. And they're like, you do that? I'm like, 100%. It takes nothing to kind of chop a video up, but people are like, oh my God, it's going to take forever. It might take an hour of your time or something, but yeah, I mean, people really appreciated that, and really, it started adding to the brand of Jade's out there trying to help you, and now we've got a team of people that's out there trying to help you. But the team of people is other entrepreneurs, Mo Loudon, Pete LaFontaine, Colea.
It's all like-minded people.
All like-minded people that want to help, that are entrepreneurs in the ecosystem right now. And they understand what's going on. They understand the struggles, especially during COVID, coming out of COVID. We're here. We're doing it. And for us, they don't need to make any money. I don't need to make any money out of it. And so anything that we get is great. It's not like I have bills to pay and things like that. Well, you do, but it's not a focus. I've had people from Vancouver reach out and say, oh, will you franchise Pure Guidance? I was like, well, tell me your story. I wouldn't mind. First of all, I got to meet you. That's the only rule I have of Telling It Like It is we have to have a conversation.
Before the live.
Before the live.
You do a gut check?
I do. I get in there. I want to know more about you, right?
And you get into less business things and more just about their life?
Sometimes most of it's pretty business. Okay. Yeah, most of it's pretty business. But when you're having a coffee or a beer with somebody, this is a good chinwag, right? You're just having a good convo, and you're like, yeah, okay. But it also helps. Sometimes you interview a lot of introverts. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to carry this conversation a little bit longer. It's not like here, Jade. Here's a camera.
Lights.
Exactly.
So did you, when you decided, 6 years ago, whatever the number is, 5.5, doesn't matter. When you decided that you were going to do your thing, Did you have a solid plan in place? Did you know that you building kind of your personal brand had to be the catalyst, or like were you just moving in a direction that you wanted to help people?
It was a little bit of both. I had my own, like, it started as Jade Alberts Consulting, which is now I'm just using as a holding company.
Yep.
And I had that because, I mean, I guess I didn't really talk about this, but when kids in the early 90s would come out of the dub, I started a business, again, Jade Alberts Consulting.
Yep.
Really dive down on an original name.
Which I'd go all in your name all day. Like, it's the only thing you can take wherever you go.
Exactly, right? So, but kids would come out of the dub, and these are kids that we might have been coaching from 15, 16, right? And then they went and played in the dub, and they're coming out. And at that time, if you went and signed a pro deal, you lost your 4 years books and tuition. And there was a lot of shit leagues out there. Like the East Coast wasn't what it was. You can go to the Sunshine League, the West Coast, and make a couple $100 a week. And I'd tell these kids, don't do that.
Not for 4 years of yours.
Go to university. You'll be done when you're 22. You want to go to Europe? We'll help you. So I started a company to kind of do that to help kids, and I'm hoping to get paid.
Or to finance them?
Educate them, but I was hoping that I would get some. If I'd introduce them to an agent, I would get a cut or something like that, right? Yep. And nothing like that really even happened. But I just activated that name, and because I was like, well, it's already incorporated, and here we go. And then why? So really, that was kind of still Pure Guidance, but I just really wanted my name off it. So that's why I started changing the name to Pure Guidance.
Just so that, because you're bringing more people into.
I'm bringing more people, and it didn't fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So we're doing the exact same thing, but it's just now that there's more people helping, it can't be under that. And it took me a while to find a name, and I mean, when you're out there, I was like, oh, Pure Guidance, that sounds pretty cool. So I go to GoDaddy, and pureguidance.com was like $3,500, and pureguidance.ca was like $4. So there you go.
How many years has it been now?
I had it for like 3 years-ish, something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
It's kind of funny.
Well, that is how we make decisions on how these things are getting named.
Exactly.
Like, it's as basic as that.
I'm not paying $3,500 for a name.
Oh, .ca?
.ca, $4.
So the show, Telling Like It Is, how long is this, forever? Do you have a number in your head that you want to hit?
No.
For episodes or anything weird?
Honestly, like I've what I wanted Pure Guy or Telling It Like It Is to turn into was something that's not mine. Like, I wanted it to have a bigger audience. I know you think 2 million, like, oh, that's pretty big, but I want it to be bigger. I want these stories to get told across Canada. Like, I was hoping at one point we tried and I would go to like CED or any economic development or something saying, hey, listen, this should be your show. We can call it Telling Like It Is. I'll host it, but we need to get more people out there.
You wanted like a version of Dragon's Den.
Kind of, right? Just a little, again,
something
a bigger mountaintop to shout from, right? Yeah. And that's kind of, and I've kind of kiboshed that because Startup TNT has really done that now for these companies that are ready to scale at the angel investable level. So now I don't really worry about that.
You got two things. Instead of taking the one idea and trying morphing it into pushing it like maybe uphill, you just spin up a different idea.
And it wasn't my idea. So like Zach and Tim were the ones that founded Startup TNT out of Edmonton, but I went through there as an investor before I wanted to come and help them because I wanted to make sure that it was something that if I want to be part of, it's going to have my, what my beliefs in it. If they're just going to take the longest shot for the longest company that might give us the biggest return, I didn't want to do that. But I found out quickly that these guys are solid people, solid humans, care about the ecosystem like I do, and that's why I wanted to get involved. Yeah,
so cool. It's interesting listening to your story and that sense of community and who you decide to do business with and the connections you make is very.
It's very important.
You have to like these people if you're going to put your name beside them.
Yeah. I'm not going to work with a dick.
Yeah.
Like
as basic as that is.
And I'm sure lots of people think I'm a dick too and they won't work with me, but it is what it is.
That's what
right?
they're doing.
I mean, Telling It Like It Is something that, why I named it that way is because that's just the way I am. You might not like what I'm going to say, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I've sat there across the table like this and told people that you shouldn't do that anymore. You don't pour any more money into this. Like it's not. It's not feasible. And they go and do it and ended up just wasting more money. Not that I'm right. I'm just giving you different advice that your family and friends aren't, that are close and saying that's a good idea and keep going and yay, cheering for you. Sometimes you need a guy that just tells it like it is, and away you go. And those are hard conversations to have, right? And sometimes they're unfortunate.
Generally, though, pretty fun conversations with these characters.
Yeah.
And it must keep you going too.
Oh,
Just keep you connected in the space and.
Absolutely. I mean, I probably have 20 to 50 meetings a week, right?
Vetting people to get on the show. Is that
No, not like just general meetings,
just
right?
Everything, all your inputs.
Someone will say, "Hey, can I take?" I mean, that number has gone up during COVID because I probably talked to well over 600 or 700 companies that didn't know what was going on. Like, what are we going to do? Oh my God! Like, the world's closing, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on either." At some points, right? But there will be help. The government. I mean, it's election day. I voted. Get out there and vote. I know you won't. We'll see this.
Timestamped.
But I mean, the one thing that I say, the government programs, and I believe any government that was in power would have done the same thing. The CERB and the wage subsidies really, really helped they saved a lot of thousands and thousands of small businesses out there. When I was talking to some of them that were phoning me up and wondering what to do, like these programs weren't announced yet. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, but something will come. Yep. Something will come. It'll be federal, and then the provincials will have something. There'll be support. There'll be, financial restitutions and things like that. So let's not panic too much. Just, what can we do short term? And a lot of them were like, well, let's set up e-commerce.
Yep.
That weren't doing e-commerce before that. We've been telling to do e-commerce for years, but they're like, things are good.
Yeah.
And now they're like, okay, this is. Well, I wish I would have listened to you.
We should have both going.
But it took a COVID to kind of have some of these people jump into doing it a little easier. Yep. But
you're obviously okay with just people picking your brain, hey?
Oh, always.
Like that's why you take so many meetings and you're willing to you're not giving away secrets, but you're willing to get them on the path quicker.
Yeah.
Here's some good information based on some experiences. Hopefully it helps.
And sometimes it's not even my experiences. Sometimes it's. Company XYZ comes to me and says, listen, I'm doing this. I'm spinning my tires. I'm like, oh my God, like, here, go talk to Jeff. He's doing the exact same, he just went through the exact same problem you are. Have a talk with
There's
him.
The answer.
And our entrepreneurial community is so collaborative. Everybody talks to everybody. Everybody will try and help everybody. Everybody's got time for somebody. And I love that. And it doesn't matter if it's something that's sending them elsewhere or it's me doing it, or there's been times where I know people that have been working on very similar ideas. And I was like, well, you guys you got to meet, Connie over here because they're doing this. So 2 heads and 2 bank accounts are better than one.
Do you feel you can operate like that because you see the abundance of opportunities out there versus trying to hold everything? Like there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
It'd be impossible for you to hang on to all these meetings, all these connections. Is that just, there's lots out there, or you're just like, what gives you that move? I'm going to just help.
It's just the way I am, right? I don't think knowledge should come with the price tag. Like you're not going to be successful. If you go through 2 or 3 accelerators, it's not going to make you a better business person. It's not going to make your idea better.
Yep.
It's not going to make you succeed. There's no guarantees. I actually say you shouldn't go through any accelerators or go through the Platform Junction program. It's like a business 101 course where you get a lot of information, a lot of basic stuff from different companies, different instructors that you should know and should need. But after that, you got to prove your idea out. Like we didn't sit there with Nathan's and say, okay, well, where should we go? Should we go through accelerator? Shit, let's get, pound the pavement. Is anybody going to buy our product?
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep.
And that's really what I focus on is making sure that these people understand that sales is king. I mean, if you don't have sales, you got nothing. You can't sell your product. You got nothing. Yep. You got no money to spend on marketing, no money to spend on branding, no money to spend on employees or growth or anything. So you don't have money to spend on pure guidance if we're not helping you grow.
Yep.
Right? So a lot of times, we've worked with companies for 10, 11 months without taking a dime until they became, getting some revenue. And then they're, okay, well, we'll get you. Our goal is for you not to be our client. We want to get you to a certain point. And you know what? Then if you can hire a marketing firm, we know some good ones that will help you. But in the meantime, we've got some really good graphic designers that will work for you you'll be paying for it.
Yep.
But you're not going to be paying prices here. You'll be paying, independent. A Kim Wheating with Grip Media is absolutely unbelievable. And I send tons of people her way just because I know she's not going to gouge them, but she does fantastic work, like second to none. And Kim and I have been working together for 15, 16 years. Awesome. Like we've actually gone to conferences together, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the one in Banff with, what is it? The Cult, the Gathering, right? Gathering, like, we go out there together, we chill together. Like, she's just awesome, right? And we're two solopreneurs kind of, right? Mm-hmm. Like that have, and she sends, hey, she'll have somebody and say, hey, go talk to Jade if you need help. And
goes back and forth.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how a lot of the entrepreneurial community works.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. The back and forth is healthy. Mm-hmm. We get to keep talking. You're a gifted storyteller, obviously, and but we got to put a bow in this sucker. The only question I ask the guests is, when I say Calgary, where's your head go? So as a Sasky, now Calgarian, this would be an interesting answer.
Well, where does Calgary? It's home. That's the first thing that we've been here for 21 years. Yep. Coming up, we love it here. Both of our girls have been born here. They're both entrenched in the community and sports and dance and all the things. My ecosystem is here. I love it here. I love the people here. It's close to the mountains. It's I got my gym. Our mutual friend Jason, who's I guess coming on in a few weeks, right? Mm-hmm. Matador Pizza, the best pizza in the city. Can pump it. Yeah, exactly. And I just love this city. I really do. I love the ecosystem. I love the diverse people that are here, from whether you got Saskies or Newfies or people from BC. I don't even know what you call them. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, Calgary's Canada's largest city, right? It's just got people from everywhere. And it's just, being a people person, that really resonates with me, that I can just phone up somebody, and even somebody over my head, whether it be James Lockley's coming on our show in the next little bit, like, they got no problem. Oh yeah, I got time for you, right? Like, or I got time for this, and someone like that who's also passionate, who had a $500 million exit, right, where he cuts a deal with a company going through the startup TNT process, and he's like, oh yeah, any money that you guys want to give, and I'll let you in on it. Again, right? Like, he could have closed around and said, I got it all myself. But again, people like that, put a smile on my face and say, this is what Calgary, this is what we're all about. Mm-hmm. We're early in tech, but we are heading in the right direction with the right people. And I want to be here for that.
Cool. Well, it's going to be fun to watch now that I'm connected to your world. Just like to watch it from afar. It'll be fun to see where you do. I'll be sure to link up both the startup ones just to put some awareness around, so people understand. We didn't talk about it much, but I'll link up both your sites so people know what you're up to.
No, I appreciate that. We didn't touch about the startup TNT, but they are one of the main reasons why a lot of money's coming into this province right now. VC firms from outside of or late stage angel fund seed companies are using startup TNT as a vetting. They get to see 120, 140 pitches a year, and they're like, oh my God, like, look at this company. And we've handed out over $4 million to 22 companies in 2.5 years.
Cool.
And that's only going to get better. Our next summit starts here. Like, when this airs, it'll be right in the middle of it. It's startuptnt.com. If you want to become an angel investor, this is something that you can do. You can go buy Bitcoin, you can throw money in the stock or whatever. Now you can invest in local companies at $5,000 a pop.
Cool.
Just with the way the Alberta government and Sask government have changed the rules lately, you can become an angel investor. And we're also looking for investors, right? Like, there's going to be 70 plus of us that are going to be investing in these next companies.
Cool.
And again, making people understand how to become an angel investor is very important, right? It's not just going out there. Most people don't have a 10, 50, 100 grand check to write, right? But for $5,000, we'll teach you how to become. And maybe in 10 years, you'll have 12 or 13 companies, and some of them have cashed out and some of them will go away. But you can start something that you can learn from people like myself and Zach and Tim and Edon and all the other investors that are out there that are helping some of these newbies come in and learn how our ecosystem works. And it's fun where you're like, oh yeah, you heard about this great company ZS2? Oh yeah, I invested in them. What? How did you invest in them? Right? Like, now it's not just a number on a stock ticker. It's actually people and companies and families that you're supporting in our ecosystem, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's right up your alley.
Yeah, and lots of people's, right? That's why we're getting tons of investors, right?
But it makes sense for how you operate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate this anytime, and I look forward to having you on Telling It Like It Is.
Well, maybe. This is. I like being on this side. But no, obviously I'd say yes. So
Oh, exactly.
anyways, thanks again. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Jeff. Take
Talk
care.
soon.